On today's installment of Riff Retrospective, I'm taking you guys on a guided tour through one of the most underrated metal albums of all time, Youthanasia by Megadeth. Hey guys, it's your good buddy, Uncle Ben. Youthanasia by Megadeth was released in 1994, and it's always been one of my favorite records of theirs. Not like everybody else, I love Rust in Peace and all the super technical, thrashy goodness contained therein, but my introduction to the band was actually that mid-90s, mid-tempo era, with records like this one and Countdown to Extinction. See, my brother and I weren't allowed to listen to secular heavy metal at home, so that just meant we had to get into his Dodge Duster and drive to all the local CD stores and pawn shops and find all the good stuff and drive around in his car and listen to it. And this was one of those albums, so I think I'll always have kind of a strong sentimental attachment to it. But I do think a lot of people overlook it because it's not fast and thrashy. But what it is extremely groovy, super well written, and full of sick riffs. And that's what we're going to talk about today. As always, this video is brought to you guys by everybody who supports my channel over on my Patreon page, patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. Sign up today, even for just $1 a month level. You're going to get access to a ton of bonus lessons, backing tracks, downloadable tabs, and so much more. This week, everybody who supports the channel is going to get access to my own tabs that I wrote for all these riffs. So don't delay, sign up today, and start getting access to the good stuff. Gear-wise, for today's video, I'll be playing this lovely Schecter KM6. This is the Keith Merrow model with his signature Fishman Fluence pickups in it. I just got this from the fine folks at Sweetwater, and it has not left my hand since. This is seriously a fantastic guitar. I am in love with it. And I'm playing that straight into the front of the Bad Cat Lynx 50-watt head. No pedals or anything, just using the built-in gain and the built-in noise gate on the amp to keep it quiet. Let's start this off by talking about the first track on the record, Reckoning Day. Really simple, easy riff, a lot of metal essentials in there, some chugging on that palm muted low E, and some what I call decapitated power chords. Those little diodes right there, you can just think of that as taking a 3-note power chord and emitting the bass note, right? It's a really simple riff, but part of what makes this so good is the way that they evolve the riff throughout the verse. So it starts off with that kind of E tonal center, and then it jumps up to an F sharp like this. It's the exact same riff, just moved up one whole step, which kind of adds a little bit of a lift when it gets to that section. And then after that, they continue moving it up even higher to A, and they change up the formula of the riff a little bit, like this. What I like about this is the way that it builds continuity through the song. Rather than just hitting you with new riff after new riff, it's kind of like they said, what else could I make out of the material of the riff I just played you? This is something that I find a lot of newer heavy metal bands don't do very often. They're just tossing every idea they have at you. Whereas some of the works of the old masters, like Megadeth and Metallica, they would instead say, well, that was a cool idea, what else could I say about it? And build the next riff around that. Back whenever Dave was in Metallica, I don't know if that's something that he was already doing that rubbed off on James, or if James was doing it and that's where Dave learned it. But either way, I love that as a device for building continuity throughout a tune. I also love the pre-chorus riff in this song. Check this out. Dave Mustaine has always been a big fan of using major and minor third dyads in his riff, and this is just an example of that. Really cool, simple thing that gets you away from the power chords that you hear all over the rest of the tune. Train of Consequences was always a favorite of my brother and I back in the day. And one of the things about this riff that's so cool is it's just so rhythmic because like 80% of it isn't even notes, it's just muted strums. I love the way that the band kind of works together on that one too, because the guitar part doesn't really have a lot of melodic content, but whenever the drums and stuff kick in, Dave Ellefson on bass plays that same kind of groove, but with a definite E kind of undertone to it, which adds a little more harmonic complexity to it. And I think they just use it one time in the entire song, but the pre-solo riff that comes in around 1:50 is insanely sick. Check this one out. And of course that's followed by an amazing solo by Marty Freidman, one of my favorite guitar players. I really do think some of his best work is on this record and Countdown to Extinction. Seriously, he's playing like really bluesy, really fiery. It's not just about the shreddy stuff, but there's also plenty of shreddy stuff. Really killer work all over this album. It's worth mentioning too the tuning on this record. It's tuned down a half step, and I'm tuned down a half step today, but it's a little bit off. It's not perfectly a half step down. And I don't think that was deliberate, because Megadeth has never been one of those bands like Pantera that always intentionally tuned down a quarter step lower than whenever they were in. I have a feeling this is probably due to that analog age of mastering speeds. Whenever they transferred it over to the mastering, big tapes, maybe they ran a little slower or a little faster that day, so it brought the pitch not quite in tune. So if you're playing along with the record, it'll take a little bit of tweaking to get it exactly in tune. Okay, let's talk about The Killing Road, because to me, if there's one song that I would tell you to listen to that's going to sell you on this album, it's this one. This has got some of my favorite riffs in metal history, and legit, this is a hot take, my favorite Marty Freidman solo in it. It's absolutely bonkers how good the solo is. But the riffs at the start of the song are so sick, and again, they do that evolving thing that I was talking about with Reckoning Day, where it presents you with one idea, and then the next part is more ideas about that idea. Check it out. So first you have this E Phrygian flavored riff. Then guitar 2 comes in and plays a perfect fifth harmony on that. Whenever I play it by myself, I just cheat that and play it as power chords like this. And then the next section evolves all that into a way more complicated riff with some descending arpeggiated chords and stuff. It's freaking sick. Check this out. Seriously, one of my favorite riffs in metal history. I have no clue how Dave plays that and sings at the same time. That's impossible. And again, there's so many Mustaine-isms all over there. You have little dyads, major dyads, minor dyads, descending chromatic stuff. Just that dramatic sound of having that C and B right next to each other, kind of exotic sounding. It's like Dave in a nutshell. Love that riff. And like I said, the solo in this is insanely great. Marty plays a solo, then Dave plays a short solo that is actually one of his best too. I've got full lessons on how to play both of them here on my channel, so just search for, Ben Eller, Killing Road solo, and I'm sure you'll find it. If you're trying to learn some of his really high octane stuff like Tornado of Souls, I would recommend starting with this song first actually, because there's a lot of the same kind of arpeggio playing in it and picking style that you'll need to master Tornado, only it's at a more manageable tempo. And that solo takes place over a really simple riff too that kind of evokes an F-sharp Phrygian kind of tonality. And again, listen to the way that the guitars and the bass play with each other right here, because the guitars are really punchy and simple, but the bass is playing something that's way more straight and driving behind it. Really keeps the groove filled out nicely. David Ellefson is an amazing metal bass player. Really listen to the way that he fills in the cracks in between the riffs. The guy is like the mortar that holds the house of riffs together. I've always thought that the intro riff to Family Tree was super majestic. It's not really as heavy and aggressive as some of the other riffs on the album. It actually kind of has more in common with like Van Halen, than it does Megadeth. But I love the way too that, once again, the bass works in this riff. Listen to it as the guitars descend. Ellefson's bass part is ascending. So you kind of have like both instruments going in opposite directions. Makes it really interesting. Check this out. Sweet, regal simplicity. I love the way that high E string rings out through all those different chords. It's kind of implying an E, a D with an E. So now this E is sounding out as a ninth to our ears. A C with an E. Now this E is sounding like a third. So you have like root, ninth, third, and then whenever it's on the B dyad here, that E is sounding out as a sus4 or 11. Really cool sound. Title track, Youthanasia. It's got the riffs here at the first of the tune. Check these out. It's all about that sludgy mid-tempo groove and the way that the bass lays back behind that riff that makes it so good. This is also a great time just to enjoy the drum production on the album because you can really hear the detail in those hi-hats and the snare. The production on this record is insanely fantastic, guys. It is really good. I think I like the original more than the remastered one, and I think you can find both on Spotify now. You used to just be able to find the remaster, but I think they have the original on there now too. And by the way, if you've been here in the tippy tap of little paws throughout this video, you have Darla and Turkey here to thank for that, who are my live studio audience. They are pretty flippin' cute though. It's worth noting too that even though the riff sounds really heavy and evil, it's based around the blues scale. Like every stepdad's favorite classic rock scale, right? That blues scale has a lot of our favorite wicked sounding intervals in there, like the flat 5, the B flat in this case, and that flat third in there, the G note. I love how much detail they put into the muting and the accents in that riff too. Most all of it's really heavily palm muted, but then whenever you have that G at the end that's not palm muted, it really kind of stands out and wraps the riff up nicely. I'm also not entirely sure I'm playing that ending part right. I can hear that it's walking up for the last notes, but I'm not exactly sure how it's getting there. So I might fudge a note in there somewhere on the tab. I Thought I Knew It All is another one that opens up with just a wrecking ball of a riff. Again, really simple, pretty slow. This is great stuff to learn if you're getting into playing metal because it allows you to really concentrate on your palm muting and getting your picking nice and aggressive to get those heavy, chunky sounds. take that exact same riff, but don't play it with the palm muting and picking authority of Dave and Marty, it doesn't even sound like the same thing. It sounds so much less heavy. People think it's in, the guitar or the pickups or the pedals or whatever, but really it's in the right hand. I'll play that same thing again for you, but with really light palm muting, and listen to how much weaker the whole thing sounds. It sounds nothing like this. It's all about, muting hard and really kind of pressurizing back here at the bridge and picking with a little bit of authority. So there you go, guys, a look inside the riffs of one of my favorite metal records ever. Give this one a spin. I really do feel like it's super underappreciated. In a time where a lot of us are going back and finally admitting that like Load and Reload are actually pretty kick-ass albums, I think Youthanasia deserves another fair chance. I know a lot of people overlooked this one. They didn't like that middle period of Megadeth when they weren't playing at 200 BPM all the time. But again, if you get past the speed and the technicality and all that jazz, there's a lot of extremely well-crafted songs here, amazing production, fantastic guitar solos, and of course, all those sick riffs. I'm sure that I left your favorite riff from this album off though, so let me know in the comment section below what your favorite riff from Youthanasia is. And also let me know what artists or albums you guys would like to see featured on future installments of Riff Retrospective. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for notifications every time I upload a new slice of fried gold, and sign up today to that Patreon page to get access to all the tabs that go along with these sick riffs. Alright guys, it's time to go edit this video, and I think it's time for you to give this record a fair shot. Let me know what you think about it after you finish it. Less clicking, more picking.